Hello, hello, and welcome to the first ever live stream from DomainCrawler. My name is Volodymyr Holovash, and today we're going to talk about domains and data. The idea behind these streams, which we hope to conduct regularly, is to talk about the importance and the usage of the data in the domain industry, as well as trends, risks, challenges, and opportunities that our sector face. So, and we will try to keep it simple because the topic is quite complicated, so we want to put it in simple terms and short. So around 20 minutes, so not to take much of your time, short and sweet, as we like to call it. So we're streaming on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. If you are watching us on either of these platforms, please feel free to ask questions in the comments, and we'll try to answer them as much as possible. Joining me today, a person with a vast experience in the domain name industry, Chief Strategy Officer at DomainCrawler, Sam Frida. Hi, Sam.
Hi, Vova.
Hi.
Thank you for having me today.
Yeah, thanks for joining. I know it's quite late, or should I say quite early, where you at right now. So I really appreciate that you agreed to have this conversation.
No problems. I'm an early bird anyways.
Yeah, perfect.
And talking about my favorite subject, data.
Right. Yeah, it's always exciting. So I want to start with something a little bit more personal. So Sam, you have joined DomainCrawler recently, and could you tell me a little about what drew you back into the world of data, and how has it gone so far?
Yes, so I've come back to the world of data in the last 4 months. And what drew me back was really conversations I had with folks at ICANN in Kuala Lumpur, maybe even before and during. Um, Previously, before DomainCrawler, I was with Open Exchange, and before that with another data company. And while I was having conversations, while I was with Ox, I realized as I was talking to many folks about emails and adding emails, which, very natural complementary product to domain names, I realized a lot of them didn't know their customers or didn't
Yep.
understand. Maybe I wouldn't say didn't understand. They didn't know what they didn't know about their own customers, right? So at the back of my mind, I went, if only I had the data to show them. Only I could show them
Yeah.
where the opportunity for email is. But I couldn't. And I think slowly it was, it's my passion. It's been my passion. I've loved data for a long time, since my very sign days, to be honest.
Yeah.
And it grew over time because it empowers and obviously removing a lot of the blind spots. Seeing that at ICANN KL, I think it validated a lot for me of the need for data, and
Yeah.
that the industry is probably now more open and
Mm-hmm.
receptive to
Yeah.
conversations around this topic.
Yeah.
And so the timing was right.
Mm-hmm.
Domain crawler and I connected,
Yeah.
and so obviously this has been a really exciting time so far in the 4 months. I get to now go back into what I love, speaking about what I love. And so far it's been good. I think for me it's been a learning curve to see or learn about domains in a different way through a different lens.
Yeah.
Our CEO comes from this industry for years, and has played a key role in the industry too, in terms of how he looks at domains and data. So for me it's been a learning curve, and to be able to apply that knowledge in addition to what I've learned over years, uh, get
Yeah.
back to the industry. So I don't,
Mm-hmm.
so that basically it's been good. Short answer, it's been good with domain crawler.
Right. Yeah.
Learning curve is there,
Of
and
course. Yeah.
touching the subject I love most about.
Right. So you've touched a little bit already, but I want to ask this questions. You've been working in the domain industry for a while now, like in different roles. As I know, you were in-house lawyer, and you to registrar, to registry, to data. Could you tell us a little bit about changes you have seen over time? Do you think the landscape has changed?
For me, the dividing point has been pre-pandemic, post-pandemic.
Ah,
Obviously, being an in-house, I started in the domain name industry as in-house domain name attorney. So my view was really different, right? I was learning a lot about domains. And over time in my different roles with registries, registrars, aftermarket, even at data companies, you have different conversations in different ways, right? So you're meeting with different people within the organization. So for me too, personally, I didn't know what I didn't know until I started to know.
Yeah.
So there's still so much to know too as well. So I think it's changed over time. Well, definitely the industry has gotten smaller. There's more acquisitions. So now you've got an industry that's smaller but bigger in some ways. Um, and I think slowly I feel the landscape's changing where I'm happy to see more registrars opening up to become less siloed and thinking about diversifying their product offering to include maybe simple brand protection services, thinking about aftermarket, diversifying their customer base, right? And this has been happening over time, but post-pandemic, the pandemic had sort of fueled that speed a lot
Yeah.
quicker.
Interesting. Yeah.
So obviously, gray hair, lots of years being in this industry. I've learned a lot. I think in the different roles. So I don't have one way of looking at the industry. Coming from in-house, it was all about defensive. Going to registrar, it's all about growing. And registries is about keeping the lights on, but also trying to grow in ways that you can empower registrars. And working with some of the largest registries, I've learned a lot because I've had the exposure to speaking with many channel partners. And working with a data company, it's sort of and Boba said that I can keep this informal. I think when you look at data sort of like you look underneath and you see the business of a registry and registrar and what's really happening underneath. Almost like you can strip them naked, but not in that true sense.
Yeah.
And you have to process that, right? Because you see things at the outset, but when you go underneath, you go, whoa, okay, that's really who their customers are, or where the growth is. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a general question that you've asked, but basically,
that's interesting because it leads to or points to my next question, and it's more recent, something more recent that I want to ask. So, for example, today, Council for European National Top-Level Domain Registries, which is centers, published a report. It's short, but some pretty interesting findings they have there. So, for example, they say that, and I'm quoting here, European ccTLDs represent an estimated 57% of the European domain name market, with the remaining 43% attributed to .com, 32%, and other GTLDs, 11%. So when we think about domain industry, we all often think about the volumes. But recently, in a conversation about the top TLDs in Europe, you said something about quantity should not be the only lead metric. And speaking about data, speaking about looking under the hood, with the data, could you elaborate on that? Like why and what metric should it be then? Like what kind of data what should we see behind the volumes? This is my question. I hope you understand this.
I mean, I think the comment I've always made is quantity should never be the leading metric, right? But then not all registrars or registries operate or see things in the same way. They have their own mission. But so this is my opinion, and it's a general statement. I think it's because of my lenses into data that I actually came up with that statement, because many times we see domains come in and nothing happening underneath. It's a domain, right? There's no, the story does not evolve. And so let me track back. Growth volumes, month over month growth. I think how many of these names that come through the front door, how many of these stick around beyond year 1, year 2, year 3? Is that even something that's interesting for a registrar or registry? I would think so, because it's recurring revenue. Right. And so I've always been a huge fan of figure out who the guy or girl is, or who is behind this domain. There is a story waiting to be untold, because I think about friends post-pandemic. I need to get online. They think of the easiest way to get online, Facebook or a social media. I have a social media presence. Domain name is your identity. It's a unique identity. It's basically your online stage, right? So this is your stage to tell your story. And so when I think about, personally, when I see about in a post-pandemic world, friends who want to come online and they don't know how to go about it through getting a domain name, what next, what next, what next. So they go for the easiest way. This is where the opportunity is. When I think about volumes, domain industry is looking at volumes, but there's so many stories that need to be told, untold.
Right.
So my point is, quantity should not be a leading metric in terms of growth, in terms of success. But I think, who are your customers? Are they going to stick around? Is this the customer you want? Maybe you won't get a whole lot, but you're going to get them for the long term. And I'm not saying this is applicable to every registrar, because not all registrars are created equally. But I think it's an important metric, quantity, but I think quality should be something you want to focus on, because you never want your customer to leave your platform. If they want a digital presence, you should be the go-to person, not just for domain, everything else, right? The moment they log out to get something else and come back, there's no guarantee they'll come back in. So I think the challenge really right now for a lot of registrars and registries is the bandwidth and the opportunity to really get the story, and the story to be told underneath a domain over time. So basically, tell the story as often as you can. Understand the story, what's underneath the domain name.
Right. So let me ask you this. So where do you see the opportunities for healthy growth for registries, registrars, resellers? Because I totally agree that like the quality is important. It's not just about the volumes. It's not just about the number of registration, but what are those registrations? Because we can see not a healthy processes, and of course, like it is much more difficult for right now to register domain names in bulk, but it's still happening. Like I would say, I could maybe like the people with who want to utilize domain registrations in some malicious intent, they are becoming more sophisticated. They are registering domains not at the same time, but over time with different registrars. But still, that could be a pretty big volume of not healthy registrations. So my question is this: where do you see the opportunities for healthy growth?
Do they know it's not healthy, these registrations? And this is where lifting the hood, seeing who the customers are, how that domain name evolves over time. Not 3 months, 3 months in, not 3 months before the renewal of the domain name, right? So I think telling that, again, getting that story told over time is important for a registrar, because I feel like data, again, domain name comes in, nothing happening. A week later, something happening. They need to get informed. 3 months later, something else is happening, right? So now that I understand as a registrar, if I understand my customer, I kind of know where I put my investment and my efforts in, right? So I think being able to crawl the domain name continuously from registry to registrar, and I feel registries have the opportunity right now to empower the registrars to remove the blind spots, because the end user should be the ultimate customer for both registry and registrar. And most times when you speak to registry, they think my customer is the registrar. Well, that's a channel through which your TLD gets sold through, right? To reach the end user. So when you come up with your TLD and you think about investing into that TLD, you have a vision about who you want, which end user you want to be using your TLD. The registrars have all the complementary products and services to be attached to a domain name. If you remove the blind spots and show them, hey, registrar, Do you know you have X percentage of names or X number of names that's not attached to any product, whether it's email, SSL? They may not know, be aware of this, right? This
Hmm.
strengthens the engagement. You remove
Yeah.
the blind spots. You as a registry start to impact your renewal rate, but you do it early. You take that power back from them in a
Yeah.
way. And it's not their fault because with so many TLDs coming on, they have such a huge operational burden to onboard a lot of TLDs.
Hmm.
They're not thinking about how should I market every TLD. They don't have that time, right? So I
Right.
think registries have much more power now to influence the growth, but in a
Hmm.
healthy way where that domain name registration continues beyond year 1, year 2, year 3. And I think data is a starting point. What's the story today? Do you like that story? Do I get to change it? Do you want to
Hmm.
change it? Maybe not.
Yeah. That's interesting. So you're basically speaking about again, we were talking about this several times already, but we're talking about know your customer processes and practices.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So why uh, do you think it's important for registrars at all, and why?
100%. If you're going to
Yeah.
sell products and services,
Hmm.
you're doing it because you think your customers today want your products and service. And you
Hmm.
obviously have the products and services because you want to attract the type of customer that wants your product and service. But
Yeah.
my goal, my question is, let's look into, so I say the backyard, right? You go
Hmm.
out fishing in the ocean. I always have to use analogies because
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is how I understand. So it's like you go out in the ocean, you want to compete with everybody and get that big fish. But I'm saying in your backyard, right? Do you have the right fish in your pond there?
Hmm.
Do you like what you see? Because if you have the right ones, then you know what to go out and look for. If you don't, then maybe that story needs to change over time because you're spending money, time, and money looking for new customers. But I think it's important to look for the right customer at the end
Right.
of the day, right? So I think for registrars, it's closing the revenue gaps. First, how many domains that have come through my front door that are not buying my product and services, or maybe even buying from someone else, or even leaving my platform to get a product that I'm not offering today. Why am I not offering this? How do I know that? Backtrack, start from data. Who is my
Yeah.
customer?
Yeah.
And then and collect, and again, once you get that picture, you can't ignore the insight. You can't ignore the insight, right? You're going to get insights. And that insights may not be valuable yet,
Yeah.
but for that given moment, it's an insight that you didn't have before, but now you do. And that's
Right.
why when I speak to people and they go, okay, when they talk to me about data and how much, and I always reset the mind and I go, let's figure out things right from the, like, who are your customers today? Do you even know them? Do you like the story today?
Right.
That's a starting point, right? And closing the revenue gaps and recurring revenue past year 1, year 2. That's what you want. Stick for them to stick around. That's a healthy business.
Yeah.
But I want to be really clear. Not all registrars have to think this way. Registrars have built their business, on a different model with a different mission. So I'm giving a very general insight into
Yeah.
why I think knowing your customer is more important. It's a good starting point before you spend money on customer acquisition costs.
Yeah. But we're speaking about increasing LTV, right? Lifetime value of your customers. So speaking about recurring revenues, could you maybe just give one simple but practical example of how you can do that from a registrar perspective or a registry perspective? Like uh, just what kind of insight I need to at least looking in the direction or working in the direction of increasing uh, lifetime value.
Start from crawling your zone. Start from
Hmm.
crawling your domain names under management. Figure out which domain name has been maybe registered by a small business. You can figure out that, right? We can figure that out. If it's attached to a product, if it's not attached to a product, then there is a risk. The
Yeah.
risk is if I'm an end user and I register a domain name with you, and I haven't figured out what I want to do yet with the name, because that name is good. I came up with an idea, but your renewal notice is going to come at me 3 months before the expiration. By then, it's a bit late, because 9 months over, I didn't do much with it.
Mhm.
And so this is why crawling your zone and crawling your names under management, I say zone for registry, domains under management for
Yep.
registrar,
Right.
early on, touching the customer early on in the registration
Yeah.
cycle is important to impact the lifetime value of that domain name,
Right.
right? So over time, you're going to understand that customer more. And
Right.
over time, collectively, you're going to figure out how you want to change your strategy, your roadmap with the products and solutions you offer.
Mhm.
All of that improves the quality,
Right.
right? And you build
Mhm.
your brand. And I think,
Mhm.
as I mentioned earlier, how this industry has been changing, acquisitions, lots of acquisitions happening, and it's shrinking in a different way.
Mhm.
I think this also makes your business as a registrar more attractive when you've got end users that have been around for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Sam. And you touched a little about data strategy, uh, and I want to like wrap it up, wrap our conversation with the last question. But before, I want just to address our viewers. If you have questions, please comment. Like leave your comments, and we will try to answer them. And I can see a comment from Frank Michlik. He's saying, "Good morning from
Hi,
Montreal."
hi,
Yes,
Frank.
yes. Love Samantha. She's given so much to the industry over the years. So, yeah,
Thank
that's
you,
thank
Frank.
you, Frank. That's good to hear.
This is
Uh,
my first time on this, okay,
yeah.
guys. So just so you know, um,
Well,
yeah, this, like I said,
but
domain
not
crawler,
to us.
learning curve.
Right, right. And as I like to say it, it's the first time, but we are going to go like full Joe Rogan experience, and it will grow. So let's then answer this question. How should any business in the industry begin to think about a data strategy? Maybe give like in one sentence.
Be curious.
Yeah.
Let the curiosity in you unleash. Like, just unleash it. Don't think about where you need to be. I mean, obviously you're going to have to think about where you need to be, but I think this is something I encourage the domain industry to be more aware. Is just be curious. There's going to be things you don't know about, and that's where data is going to remove the blind spots, and you're going to see things, right? Our goal, these where I think I'm hoping that I can help, is remove the blind spots, because understanding how registrar, in-house IP lawyer, brand protection companies, understanding where their mission is, our goal is to blind spots removed.
Right.
You see the way. Once you see the way, it's you're going to naturally ask yourself the questions, right? So here's be curious. It's
Yeah.
about the journey. It's
Yeah.
not about the destination, because the destination could change once you
Right.
actually get the insights.
Hmm.
Start with being curious. That's a prerequisite. And hopefully with with curiosity, you're going to enjoy the journey, and you're going to be asking more questions, right? And that's
Yeah.
going to be helpful in the long run for any business you're with.
Yeah.
I know you said
That's
one sentence,
yeah.
but I
Well,
really
that's
said
totally fine.
start
Totally fine. Yeah.
curiosity.
Thank you, Sam, for your insights, for your experience, and for your willingness to share it, and for this conversation, for sharing everything and giving us all something to think about. I cannot see how many people are watching us right now, but at least I see that we have some comments and greetings from uh, Ghana, from Montreal, as we already saw, and from Malaysia. So quite some people are watching, and it's really appreciated. And I want to thank also all of our viewers who are with us today. We hope to have these streams on the regular basis, maybe bi-weekly. I mean, 2 times a month. So please join. Yeah, if you want to say something, Sam, to our viewers.
No, I think if anything, maybe I want to keep reiterating the point about, apart from data, domain names are so important, more important than any time, I think, in a post-pandemic world. And I want to, I want to express that a domain name is your unique identity.
Mhm.
Renting a room in someone's home, like and you still got to work with the social media avenues to have your online presence, but it shouldn't be your only
Mhm.
online presence, right?
Yep.
Because domain names is your unique identity. It's how people find you. It's your stage to tell your story. And I think an emotional connection with audience is really important right now these days, because most people are online right now. When you buy a product from a company or small business, you assume that they have a domain name. See,
Right.
brand protection, right? First, have it, right? You have your domain name. I would assume that you have it. That's where about us, your story. I want to know your story. Why am I buying this product? It's not about your price alone, it's about your story.
Right.
But when you work into a confined area with other social media channels, it's great because they bring in the right audience. But you're also confined. You're really renting a room in someone's home. When you have a
Yeah.
domain, you own your own, and you
Mhm.
get to navigate and change it the way it works for your business, aligned with your core goals. So I know it wasn't about data, but I think this industry has huge potential to grow.
Mhm.
And if the mindsets were, I think I encourage the mindsets to explore beyond the industry. Resellers have a lot of opportunity to, registries have opportunity to gain more resellers, to expand into different markets,
Mhm.
to get as many folks onto the platform,
Yep.
onto the domain names.
Yep.
And I think, Vova, when you had mentioned earlier in your question about TLDs and the
Mhm.
opportunities, I think a lot of local governments have been giving subsidies to a lot of local businesses too
Mhm.
as well. So local registrars, resellers have an opportunity to bring a lot of businesses online with that subsidies that's given to them, but
Yep.
be able to empower the small business from beginning to the end. It shouldn't just be about a domain. It's about the whole experience. It's about adding the right
Right.
product and
Yeah.
service.
Mhm.
And data continuously can tell you how a domain is going, has evolved. You don't
Right.
have the time. Registries don't have the time. But when you start from data, you start to measure how you're growing from there. But
Right.
you also create accountability and responsibility within your organization when you work with data.
Yeah.
And in the long run, it just builds a healthier ecosystem. The end
Mhm.
user benefits, registry benefits, registrar benefits, reseller benefits.
Yep.
Small business needs a brand protection solution, simple defensive registration strategy. um, you start with
Yep.
data. You start
Yeah.
with data. That's
So
it.
many topics like that we need to discuss in a future
And
iterations. And yeah, I already excited about our um, future live streams. And thank you. Just thank you, Sam, for finding this
no,
time
thank you for having me.
to join us today. Thank you everyone who viewed us, our live stream, who watched this on either platform. Please subscribe to our social media, Facebook, YouTube, uh, LinkedIn. Forgot for a second. I forgot the name of it. Yes, Instagram. And if you want to know more about DomainCrawler, please visit our website. It will appear right now here. And thank you for joining our conversation. We hope you enjoyed it, and we hope you will join us for future episode of our show. May I say that? So let's talk
The
domains
beginning.
and data. Yeah, the beginning.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. Cheers and have a nice day. Bye, Sam.
Take care. Bye bye.